Hi, welcome back to the Classic Books bookshelf of Celebrity Pages, a channel that shares comprehensive personal development knowledge through good books and videos. Today is a sharing session based on the classic novel The Alchemist, titled Where Does the Real Motivation Come From? I invite you to listen. When we are in our 20s, many of us ask ourselves what our dream is, what we truly want to do. Then, at 25, we ask ourselves if we have truly made an effort to achieve our dream. Is this the path that aligns with what our heart desires? And when we turn 30, once again we bow our heads and ask, if my long-held dream has not yet been realized, should I start now? If you are still floating aimlessly in life with an unsettled heart, by spending about 2 hours reading the 200-page book, The Alchemist, you might find the answer for yourself. The Alchemist has been published for over 30 years, translated into 81 languages, and is a bestseller in over 170 countries. In Brazil, its popularity is comparable to that of God and football. The reason this book has such a great influence is that when reading it, each of us can see a reflection of ourselves somewhere in the story. The Alchemist tells the story of a shepherd boy, Santiago, who, to pursue his dream, did not hesitate to sell his entire flock of sheep, his whole fortune. Overcoming countless difficulties, he pursued his dream of searching for treasure in the desert. This is an allegory and a simple story, yet it has changed hundreds of millions of readers' hearts. This is also the spiritual journey of the author himself. At 17, the rebellious author Paulo Coelho was sent to a mental hospital by his parents. Later in life, he was even imprisoned for opposing the dictatorship. At 38, the author seemed to have achieved nothing, and he went on a pilgrimage alone, walking nearly 600 kilometers to Santiago in Spain. This trip lasted over 3 months, causing his passionate heart to gradually come down. After that, he embedded his insights and contemplations from this very journey into the story of the shepherd boy Santiago's treasure hunt. After The Alchemist was published, it lit up the hearts of countless people who were confused and adrift in life, and he also became the only Latin American writer who could be compared to Marquez, the author of the immortal novel 100 Years of Solitude. The Alchemist tells us that a life without purpose is just a chaotic labyrinth. Everyone who enters it will spend their entire life struggling just to find a way out for themselves. If you care too much about gain and loss, you will always miss your dream. The character Santiago was born into a very ordinary family in Spain. His parents lived only by farming. When he was born, they placed all their hopes on him. They sent him to a seminary with the desire that he would later become a priest and be the pride of the whole family. Being a priest would mean a very stable life, but that was not Santiago's wish. One day, he mustered up the courage and told his father that he did not want to become a priest. His dream was to travel all over to discover the world outside. Although his father strongly objected, he ultimately could not convince someone who had truly made up their mind. Finally, he reluctantly compromised, agreeing to let his son try. He gave his son 3 gold coins and said, "Buy some sheep and live the life you want." These 3 gold coins were not just his father's compromise, they also symbolized his inner applause and support, because he too had wanted to travel everywhere when he was young. In this book, every character has a dream of their own. While Santiago's father wanted to travel everywhere, even the popcorn vendor on the street had dreamed of going to Africa since childhood, or the crystal shop owner always wanted to go to Mecca. Even the thieves near the pyramids had a dream of hunting for treasure just like Santiago. However, for many reasons, under the pressure of reality, they eventually had to put aside their dreams and could only leave behind regrets day after day. But whatever the reason, it always lies in the comparison between gain and loss. And this calculation has blurred the initial aspiration, your original desire. If we don't have the courage and the firmness in our hearts for what we truly want, we will never be able to overcome the immediate comfort zone. The character Santiago broke out of the safe reality. He left his hometown alone to become a shepherd and chose to live the life he wanted. In 2 years, he learned many of the skills of a shepherd. He saw many beautiful landscapes and met many people. He thought his whole life would be peaceful with his current life. But once again, like a signal from the universe, he received a dream. For 2 consecutive days, he had the same dream, an image of a boy leading him to Egypt and telling him that there was a treasure nearby. What did this dream mean? He met an old man known as the King of Salem, who told him that this dream was his personal legend. The treasure was indeed very tempting, but the present life was more realistic. Santiago hesitated greatly. If he now pursued the treasure, he would have to give up what he already had. Like many others, he almost lost himself for a moment. If you care too much about gain and loss, you may lose what truly constitutes your personal legend. Because as the King of Salem told the shepherd boy, what is called a personal legend is the very thing we truly want to do. This statement immediately ignited Santiago's passion. Wasn't that his lifelong dream to see the wide world out there? Santiago followed the call of his soul. Once again, he chose to set out to realize his dream. You need to know that the most spectacular deception in life is when you give up, bow your head to reality and say, "Oh, it's too late. This is my fate. I have to accept reality." But in fact, no. Fate is not what makes you regret. Fate is what you truly want to do. People still wonder whether they will regret what they have not done or what they have done. According to a study, for most things people have done, if there is a failure, in a short time, we will only regret not doing better, and then over time, we will gradually rationalize it and no longer feel regret. But for the things we truly want and have not been able to do, we will brood over them every day, regret them for a lifetime, and it will be difficult to forget them for the rest of our lives, because we cannot rationalize them and cannot convince ourselves. A writer once said, because we don't dare to take the first step, the dream will remain far away. A dream cannot stand waiting, and it also fears discouragement. It is like red-hot steel in the fire. Only when it is forged in time at high temperature can it be shaped into the desired form. Once it cools down, it becomes more difficult to shape. Therefore, when your long, dormant dream is being awakened, act immediately. Take the first step in pursuing your dream while the passion is still there. Even if we ultimately cannot reach it, in the daily effort, we will always see a better version of ourselves every day. What knocks you down will make you more determined on the path to pursue your dream. Not everything we do can go smoothly. In the early days in Africa, the character Santiago was like that too. He suffered 2 consecutive major blows. First, he faced a language barrier. Second, he met someone who spoke Spanish. He thought this was a true friend, but in the end, the person stole all of his money. Just yesterday, when his future still looked bright, now the result is that he has not a penny left. Santiago seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. For a moment, he remembered that he still had 60 sheep recently, but now he had nothing. He was lonely and lost in a foreign land. At this moment, he recalled the words of the King of Salem. When a person truly desires something, the entire universe conspires to help that person achieve that thing. These words brought him incredible confidence and courage. The next day, he packed his things and was ready to wander the streets to seek opportunities for himself. Life sometimes deals a blow to people, but sometimes it also brings us faith and hope. You just need to have a keen eye, be good at spotting problems that need solving, and always be willing to help others. Santiago found a crystal shop on the street, but it was quite deserted. Through observation, he suggested to the owner that the crystal must be clean to easily attract customers. He would help the owner polish all the crystal in the shop, provided the owner gave him a meal. When the owner was still hesitant, Santiago took the initiative to personally wipe the crystal vases. Unexpectedly, as soon as he wiped, it attracted 2 customers to buy. So he was hired. But his dream of reaching Egypt required crossing thousands of kilometers of desert. Working here for just a day or 2 was not enough money to go. In the process of pursuing a dream, there will be times when we feel most desperate, which is when we work extremely hard for a long time, only to see that our dream is still too far away. Santiago was also very heartbroken about this, but he still had to stay at the crystal shop. He temporarily stopped thinking about his dream and focused on earning money. Sometimes he had great ideas to grow the shop's business. 1 year later, Santiago had earned twice the initial amount of money he had. Furthermore, he not only learned business, but also spoke Arabic. For a person with a bright heart about what they truly want to do, the immediate challenges and difficulties are no longer injustices or tortures, but are seen as tests to refine ourselves and as stepping stones for us to mature. Letting go is the only way to reach the shore of dreams. At this point, Santiago could choose 1. Live a rich business life like the present, or 2, set out to pursue his dream. At that time, the crystal shop owner always tried to persuade him to stay, but the words of the King of Salem were ringing in his ears. You must always remember what you want. So he gave up the comfortable life right in front of him and chose to continue pursuing his dream. He never forgot the purpose of his trip was to go to Egypt to hunt for treasure. And so he continued his journey, crossing thousands of kilometers of desert. He came to a small oasis. Here he met a beautiful girl, Fatima. The moment he looked into her eyes, Santiago's heart was filled with waves of love from the first sight. After a long time, he fell deeply in love with this girl. He even considered giving up his dream, wanting to stay at the oasis and be with his lover forever. But the dreams about the alchemist woke up Santiago, a person in love, a person who was almost losing himself. Giving up his dream would cause him